Prior to the war, Canada had a small army and a much larger militia. When the war began, the Minister of Militia and Defence, Sam Hughes, was ordered by the Prime Minister, Sir Robert Borden, to train and recruit a Canadian army to be deployed overseas. Within 2 months, the Canadian army went from 3,112 to 32,000 men. The talk of war had many young men thinking of a chance for adventure and strong feelings of patriotism. Most of the new recruits trained at the Canadian Forces Base Valcartier, or CEF for short. The base was 26 kilometers north of Quebec City. It began as a training camp in 1914. Also, the site was used as an internment camp for the enemies, mainly Eastern Europeans. Valcartier became the largest military camp on Canadian soil, including 32,000 men and 8,000 horses. Since many Canadian officers were inexperienced, the new Canadian Army, or the Canadian Expeditionary Force, received only basic training at Valcartier. But upon arrival in Britain, they trained for months in preparation of the heavy fighting the CEF would encounter. Training comprised mainly of the usual parade square drills, routine marches, and learning to handle weaponry and to use them properly at shooting ranges, as well as bayonet training. A bayonet is a long knife attached to the bottom of a rifle, although during battle the bayonets were rarely used due to ineffectiveness. During the war, the Canadian government used posters as propaganda devices, fundraising, and to encourage voluntary enlistment. Posters were important before the era of radio because it was a very effective mass media tool. Tens of thousands were made. Because of Canadian bilingual identity, recruiting poster images and text reflected different cultural traditions and outlooks. When the Canadian population learned they were at war, young men were literally fighting to enlist, thinking they would be home for Christmas. Also, there were huge flag-waving crowds expressing their loyalty to the mother country, Britain. They had no idea the political and social strain the war would cause Canada, not to mention the mass amounts of casualties. When it came to the French Canadians, they supported the war but with caution. Only a handful of French Canadians joined the CEF, and only out of patriotism to their country, not loyalty to the Canadian Expeditionary Force was generally poorly equipped. This is due to Sam Hughes, who chose extremely poor pieces of equipment for the Canadians, such as the Ross rifle, which jammed on the battlefield and caused blowback to kill Canadians, the McAdam shield shovel, which was supposed to be used as a trench shovel and mounted on a rifle as a shield, although gunfire went right through it, and possibly the most notorious of these is the cardboard boots, which melted away from troops' feet in wet conditions. Eventually, the Ross rifle was replaced by the Lee Enfield Mark III, which is a British rifle. As the use of machine guns became more and more frequent, light machine guns were eventually developed, such as the Colt Browning. During the course of the war, various pistols and rifles were used, and due to the fact that there was lots of hand-to-hand combat, various melee weapons were used, such as clubs, axes, morning stars, and various knives.